Good morning, everybody. I have to admit, I didn't understand anything that you said, but I'm sure it was great. Bear with me, I will speak in English. I was born in 1965, and as we'll see during this talk, that matters. At least it matters to me, because I wouldn't be here if I weren't born. 1965, and when I was 2.5 years old, my father bought an old Volkswagen bus, one of those things that would be worth a fortune if he would still have it today. And he turned it into a camper van. And on we traveled. From the early age of 2.5, I was always traveling. And I'm still traveling today. The last 20 years, much more in business. But travel is what defines us all and what is really, really important. It's on so many levels. And we don't have time to go much into this. But a couple years later, we bought an apartment in Marbella. And I spent my youth on a beach in Marbella. And I was just standing out there watching the water and the beach, and I felt right at home. So I remember me, ordering ice cream for me and my brother, saying, "Dos helados, por favor." And that's all the Spanish I still can, I think. That was the most important phrase in my life when I was young. I moved on to study computer science, because I thought that is really relevant in the future. And as we see, and as you certainly know, yes, it is. It has changed the world dramatically, and it will change the world dramatically in the future. And it's affecting what we do in the travel industry. So travel it is. And I start with telling you we are in the right industry. These are the numbers from 1950 to 2016. 1950, there were 25 million travelers, if you want, booking around the world. In 2016, we had about, 1.2 billion travelers, so almost 50 times as many. Crazy. It's growing. Good to be in a growing business, right? Also, we're in the right place still. This is the same numbers relative. We have still about half of the travel that is happening on the planet is happening in Europe. That's the yellow part here. It's going down in relative terms, but absolutely, of course, it's growing. And as you certainly know, it's one of the biggest industries on the planet, on par with banking and education, and just eclipsed by a couple of other things like finance, retail, and what's the third one here? Resources, of course, like mining. Good. Not much more about that. We're also in the right place. Spain, and I was surprised to learn that, is actually the second largest tourist destination on the planet. So cool, we're right here, only eclipsed by the US. So today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about trends. And I know this was announced as digital trends, and I've talked about digital trends for many years now. But when I looked into travel, I think there are bigger topics to look at. And I'll start with those and then come down to what is happening a little bit more in the industry. And we have about 25 minutes with me, so it's not a lot of time, as I noticed. I hope I'm not going too fast. If I'm going too fast, just tell me and I slow down. But as always, there's a lot of material. So the biggest thing affecting everybody on this planet is demographic development. And that's something that we often like to kind of ignore. We kind of just assume, yeah, we're there and that's it. And we look at the minute detail of some random stuff on the planet, how can we improvise e-commerce or whatever. But what is affecting everything is how we develop as a population. And in 2017, which is now, half of the US population is my age and older, right? And the interesting part about that is we have 70% of the disposable income. We are the target group par excellence. And the funny thing is, it's going to stay like that. We just live longer and we have less babies in Western Europe, that's for sure. I also have numbers for the world, but I don't show them today because we just don't have the time. But if you look at the population pyramid, and you can go to this website, populationpyramid.net, and just go through this yourself. So this is basically now, and just watch this. Every 5 years, what is happening? So 2020, 25, 30, 35, 40. That's Western Europe. That's as far as we go. That's you can go until 2100. Lots of, I won't live that long, but what you see here, just go back a little bit, you know, this is what's happening. What does it mean? My age group, now I'm here, 50 to 54. In 10 years, 20 years, I'm here. I'm still in the biggest age group, if I'm still alive. Let's hope that's going to happen, right? So if you win me as a customer today, I'm going to make, you know, your company happy for the next 50 years. Because I'm the guy who has the money, and that's not me personally, you know, it's just my age group. I found that quite interesting. And so what does that mean? You know, we live longer, we get older, half of the population is my age and older, and we'll just keep this up every 5 years. We keep pushing this up, it's crazy. This is why, by far the biggest sector in travel is health and fitness. Of course, you know, if half the people are my age, we live longer, we want to stay healthy, we want to stay fit. And this is, you know, a website that I just took a screenshot in India because I met a guy who said, I spend 2 weeks every year in an Ayurvedic clinic in India. I'm like, who would do that? You know, I'd rather spend my time on the beach, but he actually goes on a diet for 2 weeks. So people are actually doing this. And the numbers here are staggering. So wellness industry is 5% of the global economic output. And for tourist dollars, it's 1 in 6. So every $6 spent in the tourism industry is in the wellness industry. And that's domestic as well as with, you know, traveling internationally. Europe is the second biggest market. So again, also good. The US, the biggest at the moment. And anything else there to say? Anyways, the numbers are rising for the same reasons that I just mentioned. You know, the older we get, the more money we'll spend on fitness and wellness. So that's going to be interesting. And these are numbers from the Global Wellness Institute. You know, it's going to stay like that, most obviously. Population is rising, we're getting older, and we're seeking experiences and meaning and purpose and authenticity and nature. And all of this actually is quite interesting. Nature I find fairly easy because you know that now more than half of the population is living in cities. So of course, if we want to get out of the city, we want to see the nature. But we look at a couple of the other things here. And the first one for me is experience economy. And that obviously isn't new for you, isn't new for me, but it's interesting what is happening at the moment. It's old insofar as more than 20 years ago, I think in 1995, it was Sir Colin Marshall, former British Airways president or whatever he was, chairman, okay. And he was talking about the commodity mindset of getting people from A to B, filling seats, filling hotel beds, and how that is wrong and how they should go into an experience economy. And if you have watched the news, I'm sure you did, the last couple of weeks we saw where this kind of commodity mindset leads us to you know, being dragged off airplanes. That's not the experience anybody is looking for, right? I hope so, at least. It's not my kind of experience. So what kind of experiences are we actually looking at? It's authentic experiences, and it's, you know, if you think about travel, it's enriching our life. We don't want to spend the time in a hotel room. When I first saw Airbnb's new thing, which isn't renting rooms out anymore, it's local guides, and then quickly rebranded to experiences, I was like, what the hell? What are they doing? You know, I want to book a room, not an experience. But I quickly realized it's not true, and what they're doing is totally disruptive. It's amazing, because they're democratizing experiences. So if you look at other options like Gobi, that's Royal Caribbean, one of our clients, you know, they have built a website recently, launched a website to book 4,000 experiences they have, but they're working with established tour operators. Basically, they're putting everything on a site that I can see if I go to the local tourist office, and they have it there on their websites. And we have many websites like that where you can book kind of local experiences, right? Airbnb allows each and every person on the planet, basically, to provide you with an experience, to provide us with an experience. And that's authentic, and it's interesting, and it's new. And I can only recommend you guys to try this. I did 2 weeks ago in Singapore. I booked a stay in what is called One Kind House. And they have like urban gardening, and I was talking to the people, and we were, plugging plants and cooking together with this 80-year-old grandmother doing Asian pesto, and it was an amazing experience. This is the kind of stuff you can do, and goes far beyond, having your officially sanctioned tour guide from your tourist office. That's not what we're looking for anymore. So if you talk about trends, watch this one. Another one of those sites, and it's all here. Recommended experiences, right? They all talk about experiences. So it's happening now because the industry wakes up and says, yeah, I guess it's more than just getting somebody, from Germany to Palma and then stuffing them into a hotel room and in a hotel pool. We want more. And it has to do also with the age, because if you travel in my age, you've seen a lot of things, but now you want to kind of learn more. It's this lifelong learning trend that's also happening. And it has a lot to do with authenticity. This again in Singapore, local food market. Do I go into a 3-star restaurant when I'm in Singapore? No, I want to live like the locals. I want to eat like the locals. I want to see what life is like when I'm there. And I won't spend much time on that because I think we'll run out of time otherwise. All of this, as I mentioned earlier on, there's like 4,000 things you can book on Gobi. There's thousands of things you can book on Airbnb. There's millions of apartments you can book on Airbnb. If you go out on the web today, if you try to travel, you'll see there's just too many options. It's a big problem, right? It is. Years ago, we either just, jump into the Volkswagen bus and start driving, and there weren't many options because it's basically one road going south, and that's the road you take, right? Today, you go on the web, and what is happening is the average customer is visiting 38 different websites before they book a trip. This is from Virgin Holidays, also Magnolia customer. Great to work with them. So they know what they're talking about. And this is just the website, right? This is not watching social media. This is not trying to find all sorts of other ways, talking with friends. So it's stressful. There are many options. And if you go back about abundance, there's this great book by Barry Schwartz, The Paradox of Choice. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. It's a great read. Makes a case for less is more in terms of choice. If you have too many options, it's very likely you have buyer's remorse, and that is exactly the reason why you visit 38 different websites, because you always are afraid you miss out on a good deal. There's something better, there's something cheaper, there's something faster, and this has to do with trust that we need to build as an industry, especially in the digital realm. Earlier on, we'd go to our travel agent, we would trust these people, we'd say, I need to get away, and they'd say, this is the best for you, and then deal was done. Today, it's much more complex. And because it's much more complex, we need to simplify. Simplification is the name of the game. I hate to say it, it's another customer of us, Virgin America. When they relaunched their website, they said, we want to do an e-commerce site. This is no longer an airline website, it's an e-commerce site. What does that mean? They thought about the customer journey. The customer journey means, what do they want to do if they come to this site? They want to book a flight. That's the number one reason why they come. It's not one of 50 reasons, it's the number one reason. And if you look at other websites in the airline industry, you'll find out that you have on equal footing, you have book a flight, redeem miles, sign up for something, do something else, learn about the new strategy and whatnot. Lots of stuff. It's everything just not about you. Virgin America here, it's about you. And it was an amazing success for them. They really ramped up the revenue numbers through this website. And they had people calling the call center and saying, thank you for the new website. It's amazing. Because now I can book in half the time and I'm not confused anymore. And if we think about people living longer, then simplicity certainly makes a lot of sense. If I think about my mom, she had her 70th birthday yesterday. For her, it's already much more difficult to deal with all the weird things happening on the web. So the simpler we make it, the more likely it is that we win these customers and keep them. So if we want to simplify, and if we have so much choice, one of the other things we have to think about is personalization. We are all doing this in the industry, I'm pretty sure. We have tons of data. about the travelers. And the only way to deal with this overabundance of choices, if you tell me options that are right for me, right? I need to kind of get this funnel where you say, okay, Boris, you know, I know you like, I don't know, you like travel, you like art, you like cities, you also like the beach, and you like architecture. We think Tel Aviv is great for you. And it is. You know, Tel Aviv is amazing for me. But why Tel Aviv? Because of that. So the more you know about me, the clearer you can kind of funnel the offers to me, and they make me happy. So again, try to think not as the industry saying, how can we sell more, but try to think about how does the customer get the better experience? How can they help them to actually book with us and stay with us in the future? And once you have a good personalization and you build up the trust, then these things become much easier, because I'm just going to book that again, and I'll talk about that later, hopefully, if we still have time. How are we on time? Still got some? Oh, good. Very good. So I went through my slides this morning quickly because I realized I had too many. So now I think I'm good. It's good. I left out a couple of trends, but this is one that's interesting as well. Internet of Things. Here in the okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you don't actually see the most important bit, which is the electronic tag up there. So this is the new Rimowa case, and it has an electronic tag, e-ink, quite amazing. So I can check in the luggage before I actually go on a flight, and I can just drop it off. Not sure if it makes a lot of sense, but it's happening, this kind of thing. So Internet of Things, the travel industry is the biggest investor in Internet of Things. I was surprised to find that, so you're already doing the right thing, more or less, I guess. There are lots of things that are interesting that you can do. One is very obvious, that's reducing maintenance. So if you talk about airlines and you talk about sensors in the airplanes, what you want to avoid is downtime. That's expensive. With putting sensors everywhere in the airplanes, you know that something's going to fail before it fails. You can replace it for scheduled maintenance, and you have less downtime in the airplanes. Same, of course, for cruise ships. Same for hotels, in theory. You know, you could know that stuff breaks in the kitchen, in the pool. It's no reason these days to wait until it's actually broken and then tell your customers, sorry, you can't use the pool, or sorry, the kitchen stays cold tonight. You know, that would be a pity. So this is certainly something that's happening. There are many other things you can do in the cruise ships, like Royal Caribbean. They're doing some interesting stuff with IoT, where everybody has a wristband, so you have hyper-local environments. They always know exactly where you are and what is happening, and you can move around these massive cruise ships, kind of helped by IoT as well. There are many, many other applications that are just happening. However, in general, we don't really see this as customers. I know for a fact a friend of mine, he has worked with an airline. They put sensors into the seats to understand better how people move on the seat during long flights. And they use this data. There's no interaction as such, but it's just for gathering data and improving, again, the experience. Where it will change rapidly for us is the rise of conversational interfaces and artificial intelligence. I have studied artificial intelligence back at the day. I had an AI prof, and I found it fascinating. And it took, 30 years for this to actually work. And now it does work, and it works seamlessly for all of us already. Conversational interfaces, you've seen the rise of chatbots recently in our industry, in other industries. And now also really voice recognition. And voice recognition is big, for instance, in China specifically. Baidu is doing fantastic. Why? Because it's really hard for Chinese to enter Chinese symbols into their phone. So to do search, for instance, by entering the symbols, because it's a very complex language. So they prefer to use voice. And in fact, it's estimated that we'll have 200 billion searches per month by 2020 just through voice. So that's a reality. This is an estimate, of course, but it's a reality today. Voice search is happening. We have, Siri on this phone. We have, Google is in the game. Amazon is in the game. Apple, obviously. And Amazon, in a sense, is the owner of the space at the moment. That came as a surprise for me as well. But their Echo device is really ruling the world. It's crazy. People put this, it's about that size. You put it as a speaker and has voice recognition and internet connectivity. And you can use it to control your environment, your home environment, to order stuff, etc. And why does it work so well? Because it's unobtrusive, and because at home you can actually talk. Right? So if I'm in public transport and I'm kind of saying, hey Siri, get me 2 bottles of rum or whatever, for today. It's stuff you don't really want to do in the public. There are worse things than that. At home, you can have this conversation with your AI voice, if you want, with your robot, with Alexa in this case, on the back end, and ordering stuff or finding out stuff. And if we want to reduce complexity, if we want to reduce barriers of entry, then voice is exactly what will be driving this from an end user perspective. So for Alexa here, ask Expedia, where am I staying, when is my flight? These kinds of things are already possible today. They are fairly simple, as long as we know who I am and which flight is actually my next flight. But what I found quite amazing is, what should I pack? What should I pack? I mean, you can kind of make it simple, but actually we need to know more to answer that question. It would be a question I'd love to get answered, because for me, that's the most stressful part. And actually for the ladies here, it's the shoes that are the most stressful part for me. Everything else is easy. So what should I pack is, they need to know where I'm going, how long I'm staying, if I have any formal attire to wear at some point or not, if it's warm or hot, if it's raining, should I take an umbrella, etc. It's a lot of things you need to know, and it takes a lot of time for me when I travel. I check the weather. I'm like, okay, 32 degrees in Singapore. What does that mean? It's really humid. Am I even going to need a jacket or not? But it's raining all the time. So it's interesting. If AI can answer this question convincingly, that's helpful. So I think that is kind of some of the things that are shaping what is happening at the moment. There's a lot more. I was thinking about stuff like security affecting us, political instability. That's, of course, a big one in the travel industry. But a lot of other things happening as well. Instagramification, one of them, make stuff more interesting so that people can share it on the photos. Singapore, again, brilliant example for that. So, however, if I take all of this together, I thought about the following. One day, I'm going to wake up in the future. Right? I wake up and I hear this loud hum outside, and I'm a bit dizzy, so I kind of walk into the kitchen, and I'm like, oof, what's going on? And a voice talks to me and says, "Morning, Boris. You look like shit today. I think you need a double macchiato to wake up." And I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And the coffee machine goes on. I have my double macchiato, and while I wake up, the voice tells me, "Hey, your mom has canceled lunch on Sunday, and I know you're not going to go to Jack's party on Saturday night because it didn't go the last 3 years. So I checked with your wife. It's raining this weekend in Basel, and there are cheap flights to Barcelona, for instance. What do you think?" And I think, yeah, sure, tell me more, Says, yeah, I checked with the restaurant that your daughter likes, vegetarian restaurant. I pre-booked a table. There is a jazz breakfast on the next morning, but your wife would prefer to go to the session with the head gardener of the botanical garden on Sunday morning. And all of this is possible. And I'm like, cool, but I need to get back in shape. Can you book me a fitness trainer? And the voice will say, in your hotel, fitness training is booked out for the weekend, but there's a fitness center 300 meters down the road, and you can have an appointment at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. Good, sounds great. And then but what about the cost? And the voice will say, yeah, I know, you want to go to Patagonia next year for a 3-week, photo excursion, and that's going to be expensive. That's why you're trying to keep it low. It's no problem. I checked it. I do some travel hacking. We apply for a new credit card for you, get 50,000 miles. You use all your miles programs. Basically, I can get the whole family to Barcelona for the weekend for just a little bit more than if you stay in Basel and have breakfast at the Troa. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Please tell my family we do it. And the voice says, already done, you know. So I check out the rest when we'll be picked up and so on. It's all nice. I put up my VR goggles to look at the hotel and see, oh yeah, this is, you know, the pool area looks awesome. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm waiting for my breakfast to be delivered by drone, of course. That's the future. And much of this, you might smile, but much of this is already working, right? It's crazy. Much of this is already working. So this is, I think, where we're going. Of course, the AI part is the part that's most exciting, because if we can really pull that off, then this kind of conversation will be a reality, and it will make the life of our industry's customers so much easier. Because travel, booking travel, is one of the biggest investments that any family does, and it's also one of the most stressful things that any family does. Travel preparation, we've seen it, 38 websites, endless discussions in your family. I've booked a finca here in autumn for my whole family. It comes from the whole world, and we talk about travel again, my brother living in New Zealand and so on. So you can imagine I try to get my whole family here, and everybody wants something else. And everybody wants a different finca, and everybody complains about something. I was nearly saying, either I pay for all and you shut up, or I'm just not coming. So it's a nightmare. Let's make that simpler. So it's about, you know, delivering great experiences to our customers. And this is almost all that I wanted to tell you. There's one more slide, I think, and that gives a little bit relationship to why Magnolia is in the right space for that. And you might have seen that slide before. It describes our architecture, and it's a bit out of context here, but I just wanted to drive that point home. The only thing that we know is change is a constant. And Magnolia has been engineered from day one to deal with change, to be the most flexible platform on the planet. We have recently been voted best in class by Forrester. So we are officially the best content management system on the planet to deal with change. We are. And the travel industry has to deal with change on a constant level with innovation. And that's where we are investing heavily to make it easier and faster to innovate and to plug in the architectures, into the architectures, the artificial intelligence, the personalization engine that you want, the commerce engine that you want, all those different backends. And you saw the screenshot of Virgin America earlier on. They have included 12 different backends, including, you know, the choice of your food, the choice of your seat, maybe adding an insurance and these kinds of things into a seamless, simple, and cross-channel customer experience that's a joy to use. This is the reality of today's, you know, challenges on a technical level. So if that's interesting for you, you know whom to talk to. It's Miguel and his team. That's it from my side. Thanks a lot for your attention.